You may be surprised, but there are hundreds of earthquakes on Earth every day. Most of them are small tremors, so small that people do not feel them. But occasionally earthquakes are more violent, as was the case on February 6, 2023, in southern Turkey and Syria, where a magnitude 8 earthquake killed tens of thousands of people, and that is terrible. I would like to express my gratitude to everyone who was and is involved in saving people. No, you are a hero. This is an example of what we should really be doing in a world beset by tragedies, not creating them. And today I propose to look at what earthquakes are, why do they happen, and where were they most common, is it possible to predict them and what consequences they may have. If you dig deeper, you can find out why our planet every 26 seconds with high accuracy produces a mysterious pulse known as a microseism. We'll talk about all this and more in this issue, and of course, share your thoughts and observations in the comments. So, an earthquake is a shaking of the Earth's surface caused by a sudden release of energy in the lithosphere of the planet's hard shell, creating seismic waves. Earthquakes can range in intensity from those so weak that they cannot be felt to those strong enough to destroy entire cities on the Earth's surface. Earthquakes can manifest themselves not only by shaking, but sometimes by shifting the ground. When the epicenter of a strong earthquake is at sea, the seafloor can shift enough to cause a tsunami. Earthquakes can also cause a landslide and sometimes volcanic activity. So what causes earthquakes and where do they occur most? As we know, the Earth has four main layers: the inner core, outer core, mantle, and crust. The crust and the top of the mantle make up the thin and hard shell of our planet's surface, like the skin on the human body. But this skin is not whole. It is made up of many pieces, like a puzzle covering the surface of the Earth. Not only that, these puzzle pieces, called tectonic plates, continue to move slowly through the hot plastic magma, sliding past and bumping into each other. The plate boundaries are made up of a multitude of faults, and it is along these faults that most earthquakes in the world occur. Because the edges of the plate are not smooth, they get stuck while the rest of the plate keeps moving. Finally, when the plate has moved far enough, one of the faults has the edges pull away and an earthquake occurs. That is, while the edges of the faults stick together and the rest of the block moves, the energy that causes the blocks to slide against each other builds up. When the force of the moving blocks finally overcomes the friction of the jagged edges of the fault, and it pulls away, all the stored energy is released. This energy is radiated outward from the fault in all directions as seismic waves, like ripples on a pond. There are several different types of faults where portions of the Earth's crust shift sideways. The result is horizontal movement along a shear fault. The best known example is the San Andreas Fault in California, which extends for about 1,000 kilometers. Up and down movement during earthquakes occurs along what are called shear faults, where the ground above the fault zone either sinks, a normal fault, or pushes up, a reverse fault. And faults that combine upward and downward lateral movements are called tilted faults. Earthquakes can occur as a consequence of human actions that weaken rocks. There is an increase in the number of underground shocks in oil and gas production areas, as well as in the locations of mines and quarries. The construction of reservoirs is also having a negative impact because water destroys rock under high pressure due to the water column. Earthquakes are recorded by seismographs. The record they make is called a seismogram. The device has a base firmly anchored in the ground and a heavy weight hanging freely. When the ground shakes, the base of the seismograph shakes too, but the suspended weight does not. Instead, the spring or rope on which it hangs absorbs all motion. Thus, the difference in position between the shaking part of the seismograph and the stationary part is recorded. The strength of an earthquake depends on the size of the fault and the amount of displacement along that fault, but this is not something that can be simply measured with, say, a tape measure, since the fault is many kilometers below the Earth's surface. This is where the variorecords are used to determine the wobble scale. Among the main characteristics of an earthquake stands out as follows. Focal depth usually comes in the range of 10 to 30 kilometers, sometimes much deeper. Magnitude, measured on a scale of 0 to 9. Increasing by 1 means that the amplitude of the oscillation has a tenfold increase, and the energy of the earthquake increases by a factor of 30. As well as the intensity at the Earth's surface, depends on the magnitude, the depth of the source, the distance from the epicenter, and other factors. The strength of the tremors is also measured in points on a scale of 1 to 12, where 12 is an indicator of a serious disaster, when even powerful structures are destroyed. Seismograms are also useful for locating. In this case, it is important to be able to see the so-called P wave and S wave, which shake the Earth differently as they pass through it. The P wave is faster than the S wave, and it is this fact that allows us to tell where the earthquake was. To understand how this works, we can compare the P and S waves to lightning and thunder. Light travels faster than sound, so during a thunderstorm you will first see lightning and then hear thunder. Consequently, P waves propagate faster and shake the Earth first, where you are. This is followed by the S waves, which also shake the Earth. If you are close to an earthquake, the P and S waves will come one after the other. But if you are far away, there will be more time between them. By looking at the time between the P and S waves, you can determine how far away from that location the earthquake occurred. However, if we draw a circle on the map around the station, where the radius of the circle represents a certain distance to the earthquake, we will know that the earthquake is somewhere on the circle. But where exactly? This is where the method of triangulation comes to the rescue. This method helps you determine exactly where the earthquake occurred. The method is called triangulation because a triangle has 3 sides, and it takes 3 seismographs to locate an earthquake. If you draw a circle on a map around 3 different seismographs, where the radius of each is equal to the distance from that station to the earthquake, the intersection of those 3 circles is the epicenter. But is it possible to predict the timing of an earthquake? Unfortunately, no. Today, many different ways of predicting earthquakes have been tried, but none of them have been successful. Shaking and ground rupture are the major consequences of earthquakes, mostly resulting in more or less severe damage to buildings and other rigid structures. The severity of local effects depends on a complex combination of earthquake magnitudes, distance from the epicenter, and local geologic and geomorphologic conditions that can amplify or reduce wave propagation. A ground rupture is a visible rupture and displacement of the Earth's surface, which in severe cases can reach several meters. Ground rupture poses a serious risk to large engineering structures such as dams, bridges, and nuclear power plants, and require careful coordination of existing faults that can cause the Earth's surface to collapse during the life of a structure. Also, along with severe storms, volcanic activity, coastal wave attack and wildfires, earthquakes can lead to slope instability leading to landslides and huge tsunamis. If that's clear, there's still something that's puzzling. It is the mysterious vibrations on Earth that occur every 26 seconds. Back in the 60s, geologist Jack Oliver recorded a rather unusual microseism, which is repeated with a frequency of exactly once every 26 seconds. The phenomenon was called the pulse of the Earth. The researcher realized that the source of not strong, but accurately repetitive tremors, is somewhere in the South Atlantic. All of the scientists' work was mostly limited to the analysis of printouts, but Jack found out that it was about surface acoustic waves. Then he specified the periodicity. It varied in the range of 20-28 seconds, and the total duration of the microseismic storm, which was up to 8 hours. At the time, Oliver did not have at his disposal the advanced instruments used by modern seismologists. Since then, scientists have spent a lot of time observing the phenomenon and have even managed to determine the exact location of its origin. It is a place in the Gulf of Guinea known as Bit of Bonny. One of Oliver's hypotheses explaining the causes of microseism was that the phenomenon could have been stimulated by ocean waves, while the other one was reduced to magmatic activity. Nearly 2 decades later, in 1980, geologist Harry Holcomb also drew attention to the mysterious seismic activity, noting that it intensified during storms. The same microseism, for the first time, was also recorded on modern equipment. Researchers again clarified the location and found several possible sources in the same Gulf of Guinea, suggesting that the phenomenon could be explained by a special configuration of the continental shelf. However, in a response scientific paper of Chinese colleagues of the same year appeared a different version. The researchers linked the recurring microseism with volcanic activity on the island of Sao Tome, there, in the Gulf of Guinea. The peak amplitudes of this pulsation are seasonal and maximum during winter in the southern hemisphere, indicating an atmospheric or oceanic origin. It suggests that the Gulf of Guinea is a kind of center of the world, as this is where the point of intersection of Quattro and the Zero Meridian is located. There is no doubt that our planet can be seen as a living system, which in many ways behaves like a living organism. The Earth breathes through rifts in its crust, and its heart beats, manifesting itself by rhythmic oscillations. There is still much in the world, all around us, that science has yet to explore and explain. Let's hope it happens sooner rather than later, and it will help seismologists to move not only to the descriptive phase, but also to the predictive phase. At any rate, it is incumbent on each of us as a responsibility to understand how important it is to take care of our planet. After all, at the moment, it is so far the only home, the only place in the universe where we are able to enjoy the beautiful possibility of life.
You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for pain. Pulling a mob, pushing a train. I'll never stop, stick to a lane. Pick up the pieces and go rearrange. I'll be the best above all the rest, put me to the test and expect nothing less, you check as I'm chess, what's happening next, yeah. He got the venom, a tangible weapon, no coming in second. This life is a lesson, he got a new engine from pain, it's a blessing. New focus, no guessing, just bold an obsession. All in his possession, you got their attention. Now leave an impression and take your redemption. Just kill no discretion, your mind is a weapon. 11-11, it's time for progression, oh! You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep when they scheming. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. When they try the chains, you can say no.